Samson Lukowicz did this interview with ProBox TV, and he has asked a lot of very good questions by the team. One question he has asked early, in fact it was the first question they did ask, is when is Sebastian Fundora planning to return? If the talks of him being out until September or even November were true. And very early on, Samson Lukowicz confirms that Sebastian Fundora is not fighting before November. The reason is Sebastian Fundora's father says the biggest priority is the safety and health of my son. And he does not confirm nor deny whether Tszyu broke his nose or not in the fight, because Paulie Malignaggi politely presses Lukowicz a little bit and says, well, if all Sebastian Fundora came out of that fight with was a bleeding nose, then there's no way he's going to be out for that long. Was his nose fractured? And Lukowicz says it could be, but I don't have the medical reports to prove it. That is interesting to me because Lukowicz is close to his clients, Sebastian Fundora being one of them, so I can only imagine he would have spent time with him after the fight to where he would probably know how he is doing. So that is a bit strange that he cannot confirm nor deny if the nose was broken. And I will say this, like how I said I would wait until there was more evidence to prove where Fundora's team would go before I said they would duck a rematch with Tszyu, I want to wait until we know more proof about why they are going to be out until November. That is strange to me, especially if they're not injured. In fact, it's very peculiar because Sebastian Fundora, on top of that, is a young man. Now, going back to Tszyu, Lukowicz says something which has already been reported in this article here, as you can see, that he is not going to be out for nearly as long. He will be cleared to fight in around May. So the ProBox team talk about him returning in June or July, something like that. And based on Tszyu's recent track record, I think he's going to want to do that, because for those of you who don't know, this was Tszyu's fourth fight in a 12-month period, and a couple of extra weeks if we're being specific. But in that time he fought Tony Harrison, legit top 10, possibly top 5 at the time they fought, light middleweight, Carlos Ocampo, top 10 contender, lower part of the top 10, but decent contender, a guy who pushed Sebastian Fundora. Then he fought Brian Mendoza, legit top 5 at the time, the fastest rising contender aside from himself, and he just fought Sebastian Fundora, a guy who I said was top 5, possibly, certainly top 10 going into this fight. So I think he will want to stay active. Now, this does raise the question. The fact that Lukowicz knows that, is this a tactic by him to say, well, we will give Tszyu the rematch, but he may have to wait a bit? And again, knowing Tszyu's character, knowing him as a fighter, they expect what I suspect and what many fans suspect, Tszyu is not going to want to wait that long, and therefore Tszyu may have a fight before Sebastian Fundora returns, because the team at ProBox TV talk about that possibility. Paulie Malignaggi instantly starts questioning whether this will be an immediate rematch or a rematch down the line. Maybe not even this year, maybe next year, which would be very strange, but this is boxing. Strange things happen. Chris Algieri talked about the possibility of Tszyu fighting Sergey Bohachuk in between for the WBC interim title, which doesn't make sense that he holds that title because Sebastian Fundora fought for the full title, but this is boxing and Bohachuk was the number one contender. I will say that was another prediction I got wrong. I thought Brian Mendoza would light Bohachuk up. Bohachuk bullied Mendoza for pretty much the entire fight. He really impressed me. So that would be a really good fight. Bohachuk is a pressure fighter. He's an action fighter. He can punch. I knew that going in. And yeah, he is aggressive. And there are a lot of interesting contenders who actually hold titles, contenders and champions in the division. This division is evolving very, very nicely. You have Israel Madrimov, who holds the WBA title, undefeated, who looked very good against Kurbanov, and talk about aggressive fighters who can punch. He is one of them. On top of that, you have Bakram Murtazaliev, an experienced fighter who is fighting Jack Colkay for the IBF vacant title, and I think he's going to beat Jack Colkay. Jack Colkay is washed. So could Tszyu get elevated to a top contender position against one of those guys? He very well could, and I'm all in favour of that. I did say after the fight that, in my opinion, Tszyu deserves a rematch and he should get it, but if he doesn't, I'm cool with him fighting for another title against somebody else. Yes, I know Fundora shouldn't have the title, technically speaking, but Fundora, again, I've already talked about this in multiple videos, he did not intentionally throw that elbow. So he doesn't, in my opinion, deserve the belts taken away from him, unless he doesn't defend them, then that's another story. But Tszyu getting a shot at another champion, I'm cool with that. Yes, this loss does suck given the circumstances, but it's boxing. So, yeah, very interesting to look at, more to talk about. Let me know what you guys think down below about when Sebastian Fundora will fight again, why the long layoff, and do you think that it's now looking like Tszyu could fight some of the other top light middleweights, and is this something that Likowicz's and Fundora's team may have planned? Let me know what you guys think, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more.